develop a secondary battery or primary battery or any battery, voltage, capacity, theoretical capacity, practical capacity, discharge capacity, Coulombic efficiency, C rate, power rate, energy density, power density, cycle life, shelf life, application size requirement, etc. Anything would like to add or make some comments, clarification from previous classes? We'll go ahead. Unit 2. Hope you are learning something on energy conversion and storage devices, very specifically batteries. Okay, we'll go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so now by now you know what are the parameters required for a battery fabrication or development, not just fabrication, development of a practical battery, commercial battery. We are aware of those terminologies. If you are asked to select a battery for your intended applications, how will you choose a particular battery? How will you select a battery?
Based on the purpose of usage.
So we know that you cannot take any battery and just like that you cannot apply to any applications. It depends on the application that you are looking at. Whether you want to use it in a smartphone or maybe a calling bell or any other device or laptop. Each has their own specific requirement. This requires at least 20 hours of charging or talk time. Your laptop requires at least 2 to 3 hours of running time. But voltages are different, powers are different, purposes are different. And this calling bell requires very low power, very low energy, and you don't have to change the battery for months, 6 months to 1 year. You don't have to change. Such a low power, low energy consuming consumer electronics. High energy or many a time high power demanding devices. Similarly, your laptop, high power demanding device. How will you select? So we will move to the unit 2, which primarily deals with primary batteries, non-rechargeable batteries. So this unit will deal with the primary batteries. We will take up some case studies, particular primary batteries, zinc air battery, zinc carbon battery, alkaline zinc manganese dioxide battery, lithium battery, not lithium ion battery, lithium battery, primary lithium battery. So these are some of the aspects. What are their components, working principle, voltage, capacity, energy density, merits, demerits, and application. These are the aspects we are going to look up in this unit. So this was the questions to you. question to you. How will you select a battery for an intended applications? Consider two far away applications. For example, consider a device applied or used for low leveling application, or maybe the extreme case may be electric vehicle application. The other one may be a memory backup or remote controller. Remote controller. This uses the battery. Electric vehicle definitely require battery. Definitely battery operated electric vehicle require battery. Which battery you will select? Can you throw some light on this?
So power requirement, sir?
Yeah. Yeah. Any other response? Any other response?
Sir,
Sir, even
One person.
sir, how much longer a battery can last, sir? That also come into specification.
That's energy density. Power density,
Yes, sir.
energy density. What else? What else? And we know that these are the some of the consumer electronics we use in our day-to-day life. So memory backup, remote controller, smoke detector, implants, hearing aids, cameras, cellular phones, cordless telephone, laptop, then high power demanding, high energy demanding, forklifts, electric vehicles, including hybrid electric vehicles. So each consumer electronic or the device or the system, their power and energy requirements are different. Remote controller, many remote controller requires only 3 volt, sometimes only 1.5 voltage enough. And it is not high power and high energy consuming devices. It's not high power consuming device. It can be work, your remote controller, whether it is a TV remote controller or any other remote controller. Once in 6 months only you will be able to, you are required to change the battery. Less power consuming means less energy device itself enough. You don't need to go for high power demanding or high energy batteries. Just primary battery alone enough. Dry cell enough. Many a time 2 dry cells. Sometimes only one dry cell enough. Maybe Duracell, Eveready, Fujitsu. One dry cell is enough to operate a remote controller. Less power consuming, and you don't have to recharge it. You don't have to recharge it. Once in 6 months or once in a year, you can recharge. You can replace. You can replace battery. So in those places, you don't need to go for secondary battery. For example, not definitely lead acid battery. Huge mass, less energy density. High energy density lithium ion battery, expensive. You don't need to. You don't need to. Because once you use your primary battery, it works for 1 year. What's the point in using secondary battery, rechargeable battery? No, not required. Whereas high power demanding devices like forklifts, electric vehicles, hybrid electric vehicles, and very sensitive places like you require 24/7 power. Those places definitely you require standby power. Always you require enough energy, enough power. You require enough energy and enough power. This is too much disturbing. This is too much disturbing. Several times, 10 times I am going and off. It is disturbing others, disturbing me. Please come on time. So places where require high energy, high power, eventually it is secondary batteries are the most useful. Places where less energy, less power are demanding, it can be met by only primary batteries. So hearing aids, maybe you can change once in a year or so. Okay. Implants, okay. So very slow energy, but it can work for 10 years, 20 years. Smoke detectors, remote controller, etc. Depending on your application, your selection of battery should be. And you need not, or you cannot interchange. It will not serve the purpose. The battery that you want to use it for your memory backup application cannot be used for your hybrid vehicles or electric vehicles or vice versa. So the battery selection should be based on the intended application, which includes energy requirement, power requirement, how frequent you are going to use it, how long you are going to use, whether it is only once or many a times, frequently, sensitive places, all those need to be kept in mind. So based on that, you will select and start using. Okay. So coming to primary batteries, we have collection of primary batteries. Zinc carbon battery, alkaline dry cell, zinc air battery, lithium battery, zinc chloride battery, magnesium air battery, aluminum air battery, zinc silver oxide batteries. Countable number of primary batteries are available, and the characteristic are they are not rechargeable and they are ready to use once you fabricate it. You fabricate it and ready to use it. Among these, there are reserve batteries. All zinc air batteries, all metal air batteries in principle can be a reserve battery. I have some content on that. Even zinc silver battery can be a reserve battery. You have to do something so that it becomes functional, working. Zinc carbon battery, mostly dry cells, zinc dry cell. I think I have to restrict from next class onwards. Those who come late after 5 minutes, I will not allow. So continuity is interrupted. It is disturbing. We see that. No. Zinc carbon battery, alkaline primary battery, zinc air battery, lithium systems, etc. are the typical examples for primary batteries. You fabricate it, immediately it is possible to use. Non-rechargeable batteries or disposable batteries. Non-rechargeable or disposable battery. You can only spend it. You cannot make it rechargeable. Basically, the reactions taking place, the discharge reaction that is taking place are not possible to reverse it by applying a potential current. Their kinetics, thermodynamics do not favor. Hence, it becomes non-rechargeable batteries. So, this one table taken from handbooks of batteries written by Bockris and Reddy. I think it is Bockris and Reddy, that book. You get lot of information from this one table. You have collection of battery type: lead battery, magnesium battery, alkaline MnO2 battery, mercury, zinc mercury battery, okay, cadmium mercury battery, silver oxide battery, zinc air battery, lithium primary batteries, lithium thionyl chloride battery, lithium sulfur dioxide battery, lithium MnO2 battery, and there are reserve batteries: zinc silver oxide, thermally activated reserve batteries, cuprous oxide batteries. Several primary batteries are available. What are their components? What are their anodes and cathodes? These are the anodes and cathodes. You see that lithium and magnesium, zinc, they serve as a very good anode material. Battery anode for several battery types, especially zinc, very good primary battery electrode. And cathodes, you see there are some gaseous species, many a time it is solid species. MnO2 widely, manganese dioxide, mercury oxide, silver oxide. Sometimes ambient air itself is acting as a cathode. Ambient air need not be pure air, pure oxygen, need not be pure oxygen, excuse me. It can be ambient air itself can act as a cathode. Battery electrode, amazing. Very recently this field is catching up. Metal air battery, you would have heard lithium air battery, sodium air battery, potassium air battery, aluminum air battery. Very catching, very recently, last 3-4 years. Suddenly many companies have started, many research institutes have started making the effort to develop metal air battery, in particular lithium and sodium systems. You get more advantages compared to the conventional or existing battery systems. Manganese oxide, manganese dioxide, mercury oxide. I think I told you in another class, in the previous class also, mercury is a good electrochemically compatible material or an electrode, but it has not become viable electrode. The reasons are different: toxicity, handling difficulties, etc. But otherwise it has got very good redox property. And you have mercury battery, zinc mercury oxide battery. Calomel electrode, you would have heard. Calomel electrode. Western calomel electrode. Very much uses mercury. Mercury oxide in calomel electrode. Reference electrode itself is available. Mercury oxide in contact with KOH is a standard electrode. Reference electrode. We make it. In Muni's lab, whoever joins for a PhD or any other program, the seniors used to ask such student to make mercury oxide based reference electrode. That is the first task. 1 month. Take mercury oxide, go on grinding for a week. Then connect with mercury metal, then make it in the form of an electrode using glass lug-in capillary. I always admire my seniors, Dr. Shalini, who is now in Kansas State University. She taught me how to make this mercury oxide reference electrode when I entered in Professor Muni's lab in Bangalore. So versatile, electrochemically so compatible material, mercury, but because of toxicity, it is not very much widely used for battery applications. Same with the lithium. We will talk about more on lithium when it comes to lithium systems later. So we have countable number of primary batteries, their components, anodes, cathodes, and their cell reaction. This whole unit is finished with these 3 components. I tell you, the whole unit is finished. In case of Leclanche cell, zinc is used as an anode, manganese dioxide is used as a cathode. The electrolyte is mostly zinc chloride in connection with water. Instead of zinc chloride, if you use KOH as an electrolyte, you are going to make alkaline MnO2, alkaline dry cell, primary dry cells, zinc manganese dioxide in connection with the KOH as the electrolyte. What are the reactions? Cell reaction? These are the cell reactions. These are the overall cell reactions. What is overall cell reaction? Sir, this is not a question to ask us. Consists of both anode reaction and cathode reaction. Positive electrode reaction and negative electrode reaction. Overall cell reaction. Overall battery reaction. Oxidation reduction reaction. And in this case, only discharge reaction, because these are all primary batteries. You can only discharge it. You make it, start discharging it. You make the battery, assemble the battery, fabricate the battery, and start using it immediately. Not like lead acid battery, secondary alkaline battery, lithium ion battery, where you have to recharge it when you want to use it. You fabricate, immediately ready for usage. Zinc manganese dioxide, widely used for a primary battery construction. What is its theoretical voltage? 1.6 theoretical voltage. So inferior. It looked so inferior after invention of lithium ion battery, whose cell voltage is at least 3.5. Think of if no lithium ion battery would have been there, 1.6 is a very big voltage. Continue to still rule the primary battery market. There are several ventures, big ventures, including Mitsubishi, Fujitsu, Eveready. They make still these batteries consisting of zinc and manganese dioxide as active electrodes, active components. So I will come back to this later. This is theoretical capacity of the battery. 224 ampere hour per kg capacity per kg. Per gram means it will be 0.22. So inferior. Looks so inferior to lithium ion battery or lithium air battery. What is its theoretical energy, specific energy? Watt-hour per kg? 358. Just 358 watt-hour per kg. With such a low capacity or energy, specific energy delivering battery, you have so many ventures globally. So many ventures. In China, I'm not acting as ambassador for China, but you see, you have battery villages. Batteries are made at home. Battery village. It has become so versatile. Not just Leclanche cell or primary dry cell, even lithium-ion batteries are made at home in China. There are battery villages. The demands for battery are increasing day by day increasing, and their application is getting widened. Not just your laptop, your camcorder, your smartphone. It is increasing. Now we talk about electric vehicle usage. None of these batteries will serve there. None of these primary batteries will serve the purpose of driving electric vehicles. So that's why battery thirst is there. We have countable number of primary batteries and their components and their cell reactions and theoretical voltage. I am sure by now you all should know how these battery voltages are coming. When you combine anode and cathode, you take their potentials reduction potentials or oxidation potential, or one reduction potential, another oxidation potential, you combine in such a way that, and they are all galvanic cell, you are going to get positive cell voltage, theoretically. How much you are going to get practically? You will get nearly this much voltage in case of primary batteries. Instead of 1.5, you will get 1.6, you will get 1.5 voltage. Very high. What is the voltage efficiency you are going to get in that case? Can anyone tell? Theoretical voltage of Lagrange cell is 1.6 voltage, and its practically delivering potential or voltage is 1.5. What is the voltage efficiency?
$93.
1.5 divided by 1.6, as high as 90%, as high as 95%. That's the voltage efficiency. Unlike fuel cells, where the voltage efficiency is less than 90, sometimes 60, 70. But these primary batteries, they deliver very high voltage efficiency. The ratio between the practical voltage to that of the theoretical voltage or thermodynamic voltage is the voltage efficiency. And its capacity is 224 ampere hour per gram per kg. Similarly for other battery systems. We will spend few minutes, try to get these numbers. 2 to 4, ampere hour per kg. Then 358 whatever per kg. After doing this, please move to these two systems. Zinc silver oxide system or zinc air system and zinc oxygen systems. So maybe someone can move to this one, lithium thionyl chloride battery, primary lithium batteries. Try to get these numbers and today's class will be over after this. So by now you should be knowing how to get these numbers. That is the purpose of unit 1. I told you that unit 1 I will drag until you complete this course. Next semester also I will drag that unit. So estimate the theoretical capacity of Lagrange cell. That's the question. Estimate the theoretical specific energy of Lagrange cell. Estimate the theoretical capacity of zinc oxygen battery. Estimate the theoretical energy density of zinc oxygen battery, excluding mass of oxygen or excluding mass of air. Similarly, estimate the theoretical capacity or energy density or energy density of lithium thionyl chloride primary battery. These are the 4 or 5 questions. Someone can explain how will you go about it? So if you have done, please you can share your screen. Am I audible? It's simple, very simple. That's why I've taken the unit 1. Let us concentrate on capacity of Lagrange cell. That's a primary cell. What is anode? Zinc. Cathode is manganese dioxide. And these Lagrange cell and alkaline primary cells are also called as zinc carbon battery. You will know why it is called a zinc carbon battery later. And it is also called as zinc ammonium chloride battery. It is also called as zinc chloride battery. Different names are there. Simply dry cells. Simply dry cells. Please respond. Zinc is anode. Anode is where oxidation is taking place. Manganese dioxide is a cathode. The cell reactions are given already. Cell reactions are given. Zinc becomes zinc oxide. Manganese oxide becomes manganese trioxide. And there ends the battery. There ends the cell reaction. Zinc is getting converted into what? Zinc is getting converted into what? When it is available. Yes. Zinc is getting converted into zinc oxide. How many electrons are involved?
2, sir.
1. How many electrons are involved?
2, sir.
2 electrons.
2, sir.
And manganese oxide or manganese dioxide, MnO2, before discharge. Is it possible to know or get the oxidation state of manganese in manganese dioxide? Oxidation state of manganese in manganese dioxide. Can anyone tell?
+4, sir.
+4, very good. Oxygen, each oxygen having valency of -2. We have 2 oxygen, so -4. The whole material is neutral. Then obviously manganese should have been in a +4. You get a neutral charge. Very good. This manganese dioxide is getting discharged into Mn2O3. That is plus Mn2O3. What is the oxidation state? It changes. There are 3 oxygen. Each oxygen is having valency of -2. So 3 oxygen, -6. Here, not just 1 manganese, we have 2 manganese. 2x -6 equal to 0. This 0 is the charge on the head of Mn2O3. 0. So 2x equal to +6, x equal to 6/2 +3. Zinc becomes zinc 2+. Zinc loses 2 electron. Loss of electron is oxidation. LEO. On the other hand, cathode, manganese dioxide, it is manganese in +4 state, gains 1 electron, becomes +3. Reduction reaction at cathode. Both oxidation, reduction reactions are occurring. To balance the reaction, you have to multiply or divide some number. Okay. So how many electrons are involved? Maximum. You should not count, you should not add it. You should know what is the maximum number of electron involved either in the oxidation reaction or reduction reaction. That is the number of electrons. +2. 2. In case of cathode, it is only 1 electron process. In case of anode, it is 2 electron transfer process. So the maximum number of electron involved is, it's not 2 + 1, it is just 2. So in the standard equation, capacity, theoretical capacity, C equal to N into 26.8 by mass, N becomes 2 here. 26.8 is there already. What is the mass? What is the mass? You need to take the mass of zinc. You need to take the mass of MnO2. Please try. Use periodic table. Use internet resources. Get periodic table. Try to get the zinc mass, manganese mass. In the examination, mass will be given. Oxygen mass, and estimate its capacity. Cell capacity, battery capacity. It must be 224. Convert gram into kg. You will get 0.224 into 224 ampere hour per kg. This is the theoretical energy capacity of Leclanche cell or primary battery. So if you know 224 capacity, it is easy to get 358. 358. Isn't it? This is capacity, this is specific energy. They are related by multiplying voltage. These are all theoretical. These are all theoretical only. 224 into 1.6, we should be able to get 358 watt-hour per kg. Watt-hour per kg. Did anybody get this number? Are you doing? So zinc becomes zinc 2 plus, leaving 2 electrons. MnO2 becomes Mn2O3. You take the mass of zinc and 2 MnO2, because when you balance, 2 MnO2 are there. So you get a mass of 239.18. So 2 into 26.8 divided by 239.18, you get 224 ampere hour, milliampere hour. Multiply with 1000, you get 224 ampere hour per kg. Into theoretical voltage is 1.6, you get 358 watt-hour per kg. Watt-hour per kg. Please try other system, same way. Someone please try to get 658, same way. Zinc air battery. It's a good old metal air battery, commercially available for most of the hearing aid applications. Some of you would have experienced it. You would have seen it. If not experienced, you would have seen this. You buy these zinc air batteries, there will be a one sheet. When you want to use this battery, you remove that, air will get in contact and it will start functioning. It's a reserve battery. Zinc air battery is a kind of reserve battery. When you require, that time it starts functioning. Otherwise, a primary battery. Please try to get the theoretical capacity of zinc air battery or zinc oxygen battery. The components are zinc as anode, oxygen as a cathode, and you get your overall cell reaction zinc plus oxygen giving rise to zinc oxide, and its a theoretical voltage is slightly better theoretically, 1.65. And try to get the capacity, 658. I will wait. You have to get this number. take any resources, internet resources to know the zinc mass, oxygen mass, anything. Simple, go ahead. We'll go ahead. How many electrons are involved? Maximum? Again 2. 2 into 26.8 divided by mass of zinc plus mass of oxygen. You will get definitely 658 ampere or per kg. Multiply with the 1.65 specific energy, theoretical specific energy, 1085. At least you can try this one. Zinc air battery. Estimate the theoretical capacity of zinc air battery excluding the mass of oxygen. Excluding the mass of oxygen. You should do this. So previously someone asked one question related to this, whether you want to consider the electrolyte mass. I asked you to wait. Now we have reached that stage. Estimate the theoretical capacity and theoretical specific energy of zinc air battery excluding the mass of air. You cannot get much simpler than this question. So zinc air battery, the cell reaction is zinc plus half water giving rise to Zn. Maximum number of electron involved is 2. That is with respect to zinc. 2 into 26.8 divided by mass of zinc plus mass of oxygen. Zinc is 65.8. There is only half oxygen, 60. 1 oxygen is 32. So mass of battery electrodes are 81. 26.8 into 2 divided by 81, 661. Watt ampere hour. Multiply with 1.65, you will get 1084 watt hour per kg. In the case of zinc air battery, excluding the mass of oxygen, you remove the mass of oxygen, this one. You take only the mass of zinc, because practically in zinc air battery, so cathode side is exposed to oxygen. You don't need to account for the mass of oxygen that is readily available in the environment. It's not going to add the energy density or the capacity mass of the battery. It is freely available. You don't have to carry, unlike solid masses. That's why you can exclude the mass of oxygen. What will you get if you exclude the mass of oxygen? You get advantage. Energy capacity has been increased. How much? 20 to 30% capacity has been increased. And how much energy density has been increased? Much better. From 1085 to 1353, specific energy has been increased if you exclude mass of oxygen. That is why very recently several metal air batteries are getting attracted. It was only zinc air battery. Believe it or not, this zinc air battery is on the market for last 25 to 30 years. Now we are talking about lithium air battery, sodium air battery, aluminum air battery, calcium air battery, iron air battery, etc. You combine oxygen with any reactive metal, need not be just zinc, including iron. It's possible to make metal hair battery. And many a time, rechargeable metal hair battery, you can make it, unlike refuelable zinc air batteries. There are claims very recently, even zinc air battery can be electrically rechargeable. It was mechanically refuelable to electrically rechargeable batteries are possible now, with the better invention of cathode catalyst to oxidize, reduce oxygen. Lithium air battery. Maybe in the case of lithium system, we will do that. Okay. Similarly, you can do for lithium primary battery. Theoretical capacity of lithium thionyl chloride. This is thionyl chloride, SOCl2. Thio means sulfur. Lithium sulfur dioxide battery. See that? It need not be solid like manganese oxide, mercury oxide, silver oxide. It can be like oxygen, moisture, air, gaseous species. All these are all gaseous species. As an electrode, as a reactive electrode. Air as a reactive electrode. Amazing. And the energy density is unlimited. Larger the size of ingot you have, larger the energy density you are going to have. You will see in the case of lithium system. Its battery is going to be finished until you have the ingot, or is going to work until you have the ingot. Solid lithium. Constant discharge you will get. If you look at the discharge profile of this metal air battery, you get flat discharge profile until all the metals are used. Then you get a decline in the voltage. Decline in the voltage. Very attractive metal air battery. IBM corporations. They are having a big project called Battery 500 project. Battery500.com, something like that. IBM is heading this project along with the prominent 5 institutions globally. Their aim is to electrify the vehicles using lithium air battery. What does that 500 mean? In one charge using lithium air battery, they want to drive the electric vehicles for 500 miles. That is the target. With that, they are working. It translates into 800 kilometers. Much better than the conventional gasoline-based vehicles with a full tank. 800 kilometers they want to achieve in one charge with the lithium air battery. Such a potential is there with the metal air battery. We will see more on this metal air battery later. Okay, so so look at the practical numbers. Theoretically 1.6, practically you get 93% voltage efficiency thanks to Sethuraman. He has estimated. Voltage efficiency is as high as 90%. You see the specific energy. Practically how much you are getting? Just 85 watt-hour per kg. Whereas theoretical, it is 350. How much time? 10 times, nearly 10 times, 8 to 9 times less, but still it has become viable technology. Still it is commercially used. Still commercially used. With the 10 times less energy density, practically you can able to get this much advancement or this much usage of primary battery is there. Think of if you would have able to get the full theoretical specific energy. Maybe we would not have gone for secondary battery. It looks like that. Primary battery, the dry cell that we use it could deliver only 1/10 of its theoretical energy density or specific energy, and it's continued to be used in the market last 50 years after this electron cell invention, which uses zinc as an anode, manganese dioxide as a cathode. Theoretical specific energy is 358, and specific energy is not even off. Not even off. We have several ventures: Fujitsu, Mitsubishi, Panasonic, Sony, Eveready, whatnot. It's the same case with the lithium secondary battery also. You get only 50%, less than 50% of the theoretical capacity. So much advancement has been made. So much improvements has been made in communication, electric vehicles, UPS, consumer electronics. How much it would have been advanced if you would have been able to get the full theoretical energy density or capacity. So such a demand is for batteries. And in the case of other systems, please see how much is their practical energy density class. So in case of zinc air battery, how many times less? 3-4 times less. And thionyl chloride, this is slightly better, only 50%. You get nearly 50% of the energy density, specific energy. You know that specific energy deals with the mass of the material, gravimetric energy density. Energy density is size of the material, size of the battery, not material. Okay, so I think that's enough for that table. We'll move on to a specific battery. Dry cells, simply known as dry cells. It's also called a zinc carbon battery, zinc manganese dioxide battery, zinc ammonium chloride battery, zinc chloride battery. Several names. This cartoon gives all the components available in this dry cell. What is the characteristic? You assemble this and start using it. Complete discharge is possible. DOD 100% is possible, depth of discharge. Until it loses all the components, active components, battery can provide the voltage, provide the energy, provide the power. Very much useful in flashlights, calculators, remote controllers, etc. A low energy, low power consuming or demanding devices. Zinc is used as an anode, manganese dioxide is used as a cathode, and there are other components: separator, can, top lead, bottom lead, etc. These are the reactions. Zinc undergoes oxidation at minus 0.7 voltage. Manganese dioxide undergoes reduction, leading to form Mn2O3. These materials are permanently formed. Manganese trioxide, Mn2O3, permanently formed, not possible to reverse it. Even if you try to reverse it, it will not pick up much energy, much charge. Coulombic efficiency may be 1%, 2%, less than 1%. So that becomes hardly rechargeable batteries. You get theoretically 1.6 voltage, practically 1.5 voltage. So I'm sure all of you would have had this experience when you were younger. You are still younger, I know. Maybe during your school days, primary, secondary days. Many of you would have dismantled this, would have seen what are there inside. Yes, you will dismantle this, you will see a black rod. There is graphite rod that provides the skeleton strength to this battery. And there are black powders that is spent bopene. Sometimes you will see syrupy paste that is still having some charge in it. And the can is made up of zinc, sometimes soft. In the case of the alkaline dry cell, you get hot, that mostly steel. Today morning, I think Sedraman shared something like this. I was about to type, you are a foreteller. This is what? Dismantling primary cells, you will see several components. But that's not great. But what is important, how this is made, how this is fabricated is important. So I have taken from the Fujitsu's website. You can see that it is self-descriptive. You need to have a zinc can acting as an anode. Can itself, container, acts as an anode. Then you need to separate anode and the cathode. So you have a separator inserted. Then you make a bopene, that is cathode material, which consists of active material, conductors, and electrolyte. Then to provide a skeleton to the battery, you have to insert a rod, carbon rod. The purpose of carbon rods are three. It provides a skeleton structure. Otherwise, it will not be this much stable. So you have this can. Okay, it provides a skeleton structure, and it acts as a current conductor, current collector for the cathode. And also it provides a path for escaping the oxygen, hydrogen if they are generated due to something, because these rods will have some pores. Through those pores, these gaseous species can escape. Then if bopene and all these carbons are inserted, you finish it. Fit with the cathode case, top case and bottom case. They are essentially connecting to devices, your consumer electronics. Then seal it, label it for aesthetic applications. You put advertisement, high rate, deep discharge, durable, whatever you want to put, and your brand, and you come up with your finished cell. Looks very simple in terms of pictures, photographs, but so many technologies are involved in this. Each step is a technology. These days it is automated technology. Making of zinc can is automated. Mixing or getting of bopene is automated. Only you have to provide the raw materials, carbon MnO2 and carbon particles and binder electrolyte, and the technology does that. You get a bopene, you get a finished cell. All processes are automated in battery industries. Not only in battery industries, you know that in many of the industries, you will have to only have the raw materials, ingredients, maybe in this case for battery. Maybe in the case of manufacturing of the car, you require the ingredients for the car parts. You get a car. All processes are automated. You get, in minutes, you get several batteries. In minutes, in hours, you get so many number of batteries. We'll stop now. We'll continue this battery system more in the next class. So if you have any questions, comments, clarification, you can. So the purpose of carbon rod is a three purpose. It provides a skeleton structure. It acts as a current conduction, okay, terminal, okay, current conduction, current collection. So then provides a pathway for gassing. So your question is why carbon rod is inserted? We can insert first a carbon rod, then we fill. That is easier. Yes, that is the case in the case of alkaline dry cell. That is also being worked on. That technology is also being considered. This was initially made, then came with alkaline tricycle. In the alkaline tricycle, you won't see such thing. Can itself is replaced. Next class. Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
So I feel I am slow. If I am slow because you are not responding. If you respond, I can go quick. See you. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.